Ladies and gentlemen, the stunning game was played in 1958 between Bobby Dragonslayer Fischer and Bent Larsen. Bobby opens with e4, Larsen responds with c5, the Sicilian defense, knight f3, d6, Bobby strikes in the center with d4, takes and takes, knight f6 from Larsen, hitting the pawn. Bobby continues with the main line, knight c3, defending the pawn. Larsen continues with g6, known as the dragon variation, with intention of yankeroing the bishop and castling to the king side. Bobby develops his bishop to e3 with the idea to lift the queen, long castle, and take out black's dark squared bishop. Larsen plays bishop to g7. Here we get f3, a move highly recommended by Feingold, and this leads to what is known as the Yugoslav attack. We get castles and queen lift to d2 as we mentioned earlier on. Knight c6, bishop gets developed to c4. We have takes and takes with a pair of knights coming off the board. Pro tip from Bobby is always to improve your pieces after exchanging. Larsen now contests the light squared bishop with his bishop to e6. Bobby retreats his bishop to b3. So the idea is if black takes the bishop, then recapture to the center and get the semi-open file for his rook to be a bit happier. We've got queen to a5, long castle from Bobby as we mentioned. Larsen proceeds with his queenside attack with b5. Bobby gets his king to a safer square behind his pawns. Larsen goes b4, hitting the knight. We get knight d5, takes and takes. Then Larsen brings the rook to the semi-open file, also pressuring the c2 pawn. Bobby retreats his bishop back to b3, rook to c7 with the idea to stack the rooks on the c file. h4 from Bobby, starting his attack on the other side of the board. Queen to b5, I guess making space to launch the a pawn. h5, and here Bobby is making contact with the g6 pawn, trying to break down black's kingside structure. We get rook f to c8, and now stacking up the rooks on the c file. We get takes and takes. Remember the other pawn is pinned, so it's out of action. g4, continuing with the attack. a5 from Larsen. So both players attacking each other's kings, and that's why opposite side castling games are generally more explosive. We get g5, knight h5, trying to close things up on the h file, but Bobby stacks the exchange to open up black's king side. Ladies and gentlemen, we get blunder number 1 from Larsen. We have takes, but the bar jumps to +4 in white's favor as the best move for black was to actually exchange the bishops. g6 from Bobby, continuing his attack, shoving the pawn down Larsen's throat. And here we get blunder number 2 from Larsen with e5 hitting the dark squared bishop. But Bobby first takes with check and basically destroying black's kingside pawn structure as his compensation for being down in the exchange. Larsen plays king to f8 using the pawn as an umbrella. Bishop to e3, d5. We have takes and takes. d6 from Bobby with a discovery attack on the rook. Rook to f6. You can't actually see this, but the bar actually increased from +8 to +24. So Larsen is in huge trouble here. Bobby finds the best move, which is bishop to g5, attacking the rook. Queen drops back to b7, and you may wonder why the rook isn't moved to somewhere like taking on f3. Well, then you get mate in 4 as follows. Okay, check, check, takes, mate in 1, and mate. Or perhaps moving the rook to another square, perhaps to f5. Then we get the same mate in 4. Check and mate. Or even if we play the rook to g6, then we get the same mate in 4 pattern again. So it's just trouble for the rook. Rook to e6. Then we get the following. Slightly different pattern. Mate into mate in 1. And I guess Larsen saw all of that with this pawn being very dangerous, and that's why we got queen to b7, but this is also actually mate in 8. We have takes and takes, pawn to d7, almost promoting, a rook to d8, covering the promotion square. Then Bobby played queen to d6 check, which is mate in 6. However, Larsen unfortunately saw that he's in deep trouble and resigned in this position. Ladies and gentlemen, so that was it. And in case you're wondering, this is how the line would have continued. Checks, mate in 4, mate in 3, and mate. But there was actually a faster line when we got to this position. It was queen to h6. So with check, mate in 2, mate in 1, and we get the stunning mate with a bishop, a rook, queen, and pawn all coordinating and contributing towards the mate. Hope you guys enjoy, and please don't forget to like and subscribe as it really helps the channel out.